With Rise of Iron, Destiny feels like a game that's within reach of fresh ideas, but can't quite escape its own past. There are moments of exhilaration throughout the newest expansion, and a few inspiring missions remain rooted in my memory, but as Bungie's shooter wades into its third year, a sense of fatigue has risen to the surface. Destiny's exhaustion is beginning to show.
This may not make sense to you, but it took your fight to remind me that immortality is not the same as invincibility.
From a story standpoint, Rise of Iron follows our Guardians as they assist Lord Saladin, one of the last remaining members of the Iron Lords, in his fight against Siva, a nanobot plague that all but exterminated his group years before present events. At its outset, Rise of Iron displays a confident sense of character, with Lord of the Rings inspirations and Game of Thrones aesthetics to boot. But that wears thin soon thereafter. Destiny's new campaign lasts for about 90 minutes, and while it does a decent job of setting up the expansion's late-game missions and public events, the plot serves only to introduce us to new quest givers and areas of interest. Any narrative promise the opening moments display soon fades. The campaign's final boss battle may be thrilling, as it encourages frantic melee combat against an onslaught of enemies, but the short trip it takes to get there is forgettable. As a major Destiny expansion, though, Rise of Iron also brings additional cooperative strikes, public events, player versus player options, a new social space, a new patrol zone, and a 6-player raid. But much of Rise of Iron's content is taken directly from Destiny's first 2 years and given a fresh coat of paint. Yes, Siva-infected enemies bring new dangers to firefights, and existing bosses have changed their combat strategy to make things feel just fresh enough. But the Destiny grind is more apparent here than ever. I'm wading through strikes I've played dozens of times before. The wretched Eye Strike, Rise of Iron's truly new cooperative venture, is one of the aforementioned shining moments, but it's surrounded by vapid echoes of the past.
Supremacy.
Rise of Iron's player versus player content follows suit. The new Supremacy game mode requires you to pick up fallen orbs from slain enemies, not granting you full credit for a kill until you do so.
Their glory goes to you, Guardian.
While Supremacy does lure you out of your comfort zone with enticing scenarios, the experience is only a slight variation on the classic deathmatch formula. As with Rise of Iron's campaign, Supremacy feels uninspired. Rise of Iron's maps are well designed, combining close-quarters battles and long-range engagements with seeming ease, but these maps just set the stage for a new mode that doesn't pull its own creative weight.
Remind me never to take you lightly, Guardian. Double down. You shamed them. Yes, 3 down. Look at them fall. I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Rise of Iron's redundant content is a shame, too, considering the moments of greatness that it does deliver. The questline to obtain the newest version of Gjallarhorn, Destiny's now mythical rocket launcher, culminates in a massive battle the likes of which Bungie hasn't created since its Halo days. Archon's Forge, the expansion's new public event space, plays host to chaotic battles between a possible 9 players and a variety of alien bosses. The sheer spectacle of these skirmishes combines with Destiny's mechanical fluidity to create some of the shooter's finest moments to date. This rings true in Rise of Iron's Wrath of the Machine raid. The trek pits you and 5 other players against an array of enemies in a bevy of complex scenarios that don't use boss battles and hordes of enemies just as crutches. While these elements are present, Wrath of the Machine demands that you rethink what a boss fight can be. Without spoiling too much, one section of the raid asks you not to just battle a massive enemy, but use it as transportation too. Wrath of the Machine's final encounter is also one of those shining moments I keep coming back to. Despite the difficulty you'll encounter, it's a stunning combination of teamwork, survival techniques, and combat tactics, as well as using the expansion's pervasive Siva against itself that will carry your squad through. But the raid is the sparkling light at the end of an often dreary tunnel. I spent dozens of hours slogging through familiar strikes, uninspired new Crucible content, and a patrol zone that felt like a retread, not an adventure. I found myself playing more for the new gear and light levels, for the progress, that is, than the actual enjoyment.
Approach.
As an expansion that revamped how Destiny actually played, last year's The Taken King was a major step forward for the shooter. But Rise of Iron feels just like the other foot catching up to rest firmly in place. It feels timid. It feels safe. It feels like the last remaining breath before the possible sequel, as if Destiny is standing still and waiting for inspiration to arrive, rather than going out to find it.
The Iron Lords are gone, but our fight is far from over.